The next session in this hall will be the Jayaraj Memorial Oration. Dr. Jayaraj Memorial Oration will take place next. Thank you. We move on quickly to Dr. Jayaraj Memorial Oration, and please invite onto the dais the Chairman, ASI Kerala Chapter, Dr. Rajan, who's already there, the National Office Bearers, Dr. Santosh John Abraham, also present on the dais. To join them, Dr. Mohammed Ismail, Dr. C.J. Varghese, Dr. R.C. Srikumar, Secretary, ASI Kerala Chapter, Dr. Madhu Murli. May I hand over the proceedings to the Chairman now?
Dr. T.K. Jayaraj, the renowned General Surgeon, Managing Director and Chief Surgeon of PVS Hospital, Kozhikode, and he was Director of Madhubhumi. He began his career as an assistant surgeon in Kerala Government Services after pursuing MBBS from Calicut Medical College. And he also secured Master of Surgery, FICS and FIMSA. And from 65 to 74, he worked in various government hospitals as assistant surgeon. He was at the forefront ever since the PVS hospital was formed in 1976. The various research papers he presented in national and international level conferences stand testimony to his medical genius. He was born on 7th July 1938 at Tichur. And he served as the ASI Kerala Chapter President and Secretary, and he was a very active member of the Kerala Association. And he was the Secretary of the Indian Medical Association Kozhikode branch and the President of the Calicut Urology Club. He is survived by his wife Kumari Jayaraj and children JC Baiju, the Heart and Vascular Care, Florida, US, and Dr. Deepa Sunil, Dr. Jaikesh Jayaraj, he is the director of the PVS hospital, and Dr. Deshma Rajesh. And we have Dr. Jaikesh and Deshma and Rajesh in the audience. Okay. This is the first oration in the name of Dr. T.K. Jayaraj, and the Association of Surgeons of India Kerala Chapter has bestowed this to Dr. P. Rajan, who was a very close friend of Dr. T.K. Jayaraj. And I invite Professor P. Rajan to the dais. Dr. Madhu Murli, Secretary of the Association, please accompany. I invite Dr. Madhumurali to read the citation.
Professor Dr. P. Rajan was born in 1950 in Irinjalakuda. An alumni of Government Medical College, Calicut, Dr. Rajan was the best outgoing student in 1967 MBBS batch, with many gold medals to his credit. He stood first in his MS General Surgery examination from Calicut Medical College in 1976. Dr. Rajan was later admitted to the fellowship of the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons of Glasgow while he was working in the United Kingdom. Dr. Rajan's illustrious teaching career started in the year 1976 when he joined as a tutor in surgery at Calicut, and it spanned over 3 decades with his superannuation in the year 2005 as head of the Department of General Surgery at his alma mater. During his 3-year-long service in Medical Education Department of Kerala, Dr. Rajan has served as a faculty in many other medical colleges in Kerala. He had a 4-year academic sabbatical from Medical Department, during which period he had active operative surgical period in the UAE as well. The revered teacher of Kerala still continues teaching DNB trainees at Aster MIMS at Calicut with active operative work as well. Dr. Rajan has traveled widely, published extensively, and enjoys the prayers of a galaxy of eminent surgeons trained under him. He had been an examiner for both undergraduate and postgraduate exit examinations. Dr. Rajan has served the Association of Surgeons of India as the Honorary Secretary of Kerala chapter and is currently the Executive Committee member representing Kerala at the national level. The membership of the Association of Surgeons of Kerala, Kerala chapter, and the office bearers had the immense pleasure to request Dr. Rajan to deliver the first Dr. T.K. Jayaraj Memorial Oration for the year 2024 for his immense contribution in the field of surgery.
I invite Professor P. Rajan to deliver the oration.
Good evening, my friends. Good evening to all delegates, and good evening to the family of Dr. Jayaraj. At the outset, let me thank the organization, Kerala chapter, the organizing committee, to bestow this oration in my name. I had a long association with Dr. Jayaraj, more than 2 decades perhaps. And I, in fact, coined the term humility for this particular talk on very many counts. As we go past, we will find out. Because this is not a talk on pure science, this is a talk on emotion, and this is a talk on, what shall I say, humility, or being humble. Jayaraj, as most of the facts of Jayaraj had been told, but one thing I would like to bring to the notice is that he served the Association of Surgeons in the state chapter, as well as at the national level. He was a national treasurer for 2 sessions, I believe. The most important thing, if you come across with Dr. Jayaraj, is his humility. He's a very humble person and a very kind person. Whenever I asked Dr. Jayaraj if a person had to have a free surgery done, he said, Rajan, it's your deal. Don't bother about, just do and do the good best for him. That was his attitude. And I'm sure his children, all of them are here, some of them have left abroad, but then they also continue in the same footsteps of Dr. Jayaraj. All of them are doctors of different specialities, and they serve in various specialities in a wonderful way in their institution. Emotionally speaking, he was very close to my family. was very close to me, though both our names end as Rajan. Even today, the jacket that I'm wearing was presented to me by him. That's the emotional bondage I keep with him. Now I shall proceed with going to the oration part of it. I started my career, or started my teaching, or started my studying in this institution. Marthu Pandyan and Prabal was asking me, what is this thing stands for? That's the tower. That's the tower of learning. That's what we call. This is exactly the picture when I joined in 1967. The picture that Dr. Sri Jain presented was very colorful, beautiful, right? It's exact because no color photos were available those times. But then now the frontage, everything has been totally changed, and it is almost a concrete jungle today if you find it. That serenity and that ecological concepts, everything had gone. But nevertheless, this tower of wisdom has taught me so many things. In fact, the teachers, the students, and the patients, I would say, have taught me much more what the textbooks can teach me. And today I stand before you for what I am, just because of this institution and my mentors. Professor Vijay Nair, I had worked with him, and in fact, I was one of his favorite students as well. And I should say sorry that I had to be a part of the team who had to operate on him when he had a carcinoma of the rectum. Matthew Phillips, the second one, is a person with a great sense of humor. Great sense of humor. Whatever I had been influenced by him is when I entered into his ward, something was written on top of on the door. Everything in its place, and a place for everything. He was so meticulous, so that that taught us that meticulous nature. Dr. B.T. Nair was a surgeon par excellence. His hand was so good. He had been trained in UK all the time, and he was thoroughly a British surgeon. And he taught us the importance of documentation, very important. Dr. Tyagarajan sir, another senior surgeon, he's still alive. All the rest three, we have lost them. Professor Francis is a person who had instilled confidence in us. He used to say, you operate on the case, I'm around. You won't be around, but whenever we need him, he will be there. That was Dr. Francis. And Professor Rajagopal instilled fineness in surgery first. He was very quick, was very fine, a very neat surgeon. And Professor Bhaskaran was the assistant to Dr. B.T. Nair sir, who always had been an admirer of me. And it's a mutual admiration. I would say that these guys, Santosh, Srijan, Sarvottaman, Madhavan, Babu, and Madhu Murali, has influenced me in various ways, socially as well as academically. Murali, don't take upset about it, because you have a place in my heart all the time. You know the reason. That doesn't mean that others like Siddiq, Ravi, Hari, Sunil, so many of my friends are there. It's hard to pick up each and every one. But then I have a host of friends and host of colleagues. Some of them are my students now, or they were my students. Now, what I'm going to talk about is actually not advances that has taken place, as Prabal was talking, that advances have probably taken away so many niceties of medicine. We have come a long way in treating methodology, in its principles and philosophy. And leave alone Robo, the artificial intelligence is the next villain. Whether it's going to be a foe or a friend is yet to be learned, yet to be seen. But then Alfred Einstein has said, our entire much praised technological progress uncivilization generally could be compared to an axe in the hand of a pathological criminal, if it happens to be a pathological criminal who is going to deal with it. But I'm sure it has helped us quite a lot. I wouldn't entirely agree with Professor Einstein, but then when it goes to the wrong hand, it's like that. If you have a hammer in hand and see everything on the wall is a nail, keep on tapping, tapping, tapping. So I intend to talk on the humility part of it. We have seen all sort of developments, yet something has humbled us right over the years, and that is sepsis, infection. This is a chart of infection world over, the mortality rate per 100,000 population in a year. Not even North America is left off. But the one that is most marked in red or orange is places where there are mortality very high. So such a small microbe, such a small unicellular organism has humbled you. You must have done wonders with your surgery, but you may lose a patient just because of a microbe. This is a hard, unvarnished truth of had been in the past, had been today. So that makes us humble. You have to be humble just because of this particular aspect, that even a small creature, a small unicellular organism can just make you lose your patient because of that. Exactly what Eliot has said, humility is the most difficult of all virtues. Nothing dies harder than the desire to think well of yourself. The selflessness, the selfishness, and the ego that each one carry, all of us do carry a little ego with us. But then you talk about humility, Jayaraj comes to my mind in a long way. The microbial concept started with the advent of Louis Pasteur. Though it is interesting to note that it is from alcohol, the fermentation of grapes into alcohol, he found out that there are some organisms responsible for it. And he said that in the field of observation, chance favors only the prepared mind. Because without a lab or without observation, none of these things would have taken place. And from there, we remember, just like you're talking about Graham Bell, Joseph Lister is one of the characteristic features a surgeon should describe. Right from Scotland he came. And the son-in-law of the fastest surgeon, Lister. That's what Joseph Lister was. And Lister was having at that time, high mortality was there because of infection. And he was influenced by the sewer engineer of London. The sewer engineer of London was trying to destroy the organisms or whatever that creates a smell of the sewer, dirty smell of the sewers of the London. And he found out that the infected people or the sepsis had the smell of the sewer most of the times. And he was wondering, why not use this particular chemical? So in 1860, the surgery was going through a black period. The issue of anesthetics and pain had been dealt with, but issue of infection was still a problem and killing a lot of people. This is what he exactly wrote. I realized the smell of operating theater and the sewage work are very similar, and that if carbolic acid was used, that engineer was the person who influenced him, and it could be useful in fighting germs. And we know the story further. He put carbolic acid all over us. He found out the spray, he put over the patient, he put on the body, he put on the hands. And what did you observe? Look at the thing before antiseptics and after antiseptics. The percentage of death came down from 46% to 15%. Not very commendable, but something worth mentioning. Germs, this could have been dealt with by antiseptics. But then the concept moved from antiseptics to asepsis. And we are talking about, Prabal was talking about William Halsted. And Halsted discovered all things, the non-touch technique, etc. After visiting William Osler and he had his concepts brought back into the United States of America, though his interest in identifying or making rubber gloves was to protect his own larva, the nurse in the hospital, who started developing dermatitis following use of carbolic acid. Nevertheless, he has contributed quite a lot to the aseptic methodology. Now we have a lot of normal defense mechanism. What I'm trying to tell you is that infection had been there right from the origin of the world. And these organisms have survived trillions and trillions of years before the human race came onto the earth. And when we came onto the earth, we had a lot of self-defensive mechanisms. So some of those primary defense mechanisms, starting from tears right down to flushing of the urinary tract, these are all some defense mechanisms. If you've got diarrhea, let you push out the diarrhea content so that so much of organism will come out, rather than stop the diarrhea immediately. The immune system, we all know, it has changed a lot from the basic concept of just lymph nodes alone. And the symbol responses, the phagocyte response, the initial phagocyte response we were talking about, and the second phase of lymphocytic response as a second stage of defense mechanism. Now we know a lineage of cells that protects you from very many organisms, very many diseases. We call it innate or acquired immunity. And the basic talk was influenced by a leading article which came in the British Journal of Surgery way back in 1991, written by Dr. D.B. Gow, the University College Hospital in Ireland. He wrote the article, Educate the Phagocyte. Very interesting article. But then the first sentence was, there was an outcry from Bernard Shaw, stimulate the phagocytes. You must be wondering why Bernard Shaw has to talk about phagocytes. He was a critic, he was a satire writer, he was a dramatist. And Bernard Shaw had a great association with this great person, Sir Edward Armroth Wright. He was the microbiology chief in St. Mary's Hospital, London, and his disciple was Alexander Fleming. Armroth Wright had the concept of opsonization. He brought in the concept of opsonization, and he called it opsonization, just like putting honey on the butter so that you can eat it better. Just like when opsonin covers the bacteriophage can come and eat it well. That was his concept. So what I'm telling is that over a time, we had very many things coming. Paul Ehrlich. Ehrlich was actually a chemist, was interested in dyes, making dyes. He made a red dye, prontosil, sulfonamides. And that came to the help of treating many people. Often it was not a pharmaceutically engineered product. At times it had been sheer serendipity. Because he got his Nobel Prize later. He worked in various fields, but perhaps even staining of bacteria, because he was interested in dye. And it is after his invention of dyes, I think the colorful shirts and colorful pants came into being. Now the antibiotic discovery had a long saga. Way from the Salvarsan era of Ehrlich's, it had come to the latest antibiotics that we probably had. But friends, the pipeline has closed. We don't have further antibiotics. We can probably change some structure, and many of the companies might bring on antibiotic, but still, that one microbe can kill your patient and make you humble. When Alexander Fleming got the Nobel Prize, he surrendered it to Dr. Armroth Wright. This time, just like the old British custom, he was not very happy that his disciple is probably throwing away his story and is bringing in something from outside to protect you. And in fact, this has probably turned over a lot in the human body, whatever your defense system has to act upon and protect you has been taken over by others, and your defense system probably overworked and brought in a lot of problems. You talk about cytokine storm and whatnot, everything today, the tumor necrosis factor, the cytokines, the various immunoglobulins, the interleukins, etc., that can probably damage you. Why? Because they are not given the chance to protect you. This was the concept. This was the concept of Amroth. We have got now a lot of antimicrobial resistance. Yeah, this is a very common thing that we use. Now people are researching on aspects to use your own method, your own system, or methods to modulate your own immune system to protect you. The researches are going on and on and on and on. And I'm sure there are various methods like vaccination. Yes, we saw that, how vaccination protected many of them. It is still dubious. People keep yes and no about vaccination, how it has protected millions during the COVID. You can have drug repurposing, antimicrobial peptides can be used, host-directed therapy, the antivirulence drugs can be produced to reduce the virulence of the organism, phage therapy, and the Cas9 antimicrobials. That's where you probably remove or take off sequences of genomes from the DNA of the microbes and make it less and less effective. There are so many methods in the pipeline of the researchers which again will get us back to protect yourself by yourself. So educate the phagocyte was the concept, because we started off in a simple way by modulating the immune system, the basic of the transplantation surgeries. If the immune system was active, your transplantation would not take place. So they modulated the immune system in various ways. You've got various drugs as well, and that started off the transplantations. You can create anti-TNF body and reduce the activity of the tumor necrosis factor. You can have free radical scavengers and reduce the activity of the free radicals that can induce the various disturbances which can be produced by the cytokines, the cytokine storm, etc. The cell-mediated immunosuppression and exaggerated production of monokines can be delivered to reduce or act specifically on organisms. System of defense developed over millions of years now stay confused. It is really stay confused because the phagocyte, once stimulated, gives it all. Now you don't have that method. The method best can be the lymphocyte population can adopt over an individual's lifetime. That is where the researchers are acting upon now, and in consequence can be sensitized to produce specific immunoglobulins or desensitized to an inactive state or stimulated to clone a specific T cells. The humble phagocyte, as I told you, gave it all, but now the concept is that educate the phagocyte. That must be an appropriate for the cry of the future literary prophets. In fact, he was talking against Bernard Shaw. But yet, we know that the research continues, and we bring in newer and newer and newer concepts. Continuous improvement means that we never perceive the current success as our final achievement. We say that today this could be the best. And time and again, the old aphorism has stayed back and said, be true, that today's dogma is tomorrow's nonsense. And that's what it's going to be. And I'm taking a wee bit from Prabhal's concepts also. So, but we should be updated with the knowledge and the proper knowledge. Because if you have a false knowledge, it is more dangerous than ignorance. Again, said by Bernard Shaw. Of all the things, I think I still value this litany very much. I used to make the students read this litany And it was in the Bayesian law, Hutchinson's litany, says that, yes, from the aspects are very, very clearly written, and he said that, good Lord, deliver me from all these evil thoughts that put wisdom before knowledge. Acquiring knowledge is alone not as important as wisdom. Two things are different. So, from inability to let one alone, from too much zeal for the new and contempt for the old. That's what we are all talking about. But then we all said that, yes, we have got the plus and minus points of the new. Take the good, throw away the bad. And that is where our discretion should come. And science before art, no doubt about it. And cleverness before common sense, an entity which is probably slowly disappearing. And from treating patients as cases, and from making the cure of disease more grievous than the endurance of the same. It was always said that the drug should not kill the patient before the disease kills him. I think these are all certain thoughts and philosophy. As I said, it is a combination of humility and philosophy that I would like to present. I would like to end here. I think I have not exceeded the time. And always be humble, stay humble and kind. And Jayaraj was one such character. Thank you, my dear friend. Thank you all.